Welcome to Key West, Florida. Today we're diving the wreck of the USS Vandenberg. Located 163 miles south of Miami and just 90 miles from Havana, Key West is the southernmost city in the United States. Although you can fly directly into Key West, we recommend you fly into Miami instead and drive down. You'll be glad you did. The dive site is just a short boat ride from Key West Harbor, but the waters out here can get a bit rough at times, so be ready to hang on to something. Before long, we're in the water and headed down to the wreck. This is going to be a fun dive. The USNS General Hoyt S. Vandenberg is a former warship that was sunk as an artificial reef on May 27, 2009. The marine life here is used to seeing divers. A green sea turtle greets us as we approach the deck. Generally, the visibility is pretty good, but it really all depends on what time of year you visit. The lower keys tend to have better visibility in September and October. Somebody thought it would be fun to put a Halloween skeleton on the wreck. Nobody ever said divers don't have a sense of humor. As we continue our adventure, one of the many cool things to do on the Vandenberg is to swim down the staircases. It kind of feels like you're flying. Because the ship was prepped and sunk as an artificial reef, a great deal of planning went into removing the engines, electronics, and all hazardous materials prior to her sinking. Coming around the corner, we're greeted by one of the many residents here. Mr. Barracuda wonders why we're in his house. The Vandy has so much to see that you can make dozens of dives and never see the same thing twice. Every dive is a new experience. The Vandenberg is 524 feet long, 10 stories tall, and has 11 levels. The wide variety of sea creatures here is one of many reasons that this is arguably the best dive site in the Florida Keys. Our dive master points out a green Moray eel passing by. He'd rather not deal with us right now. He's out of here. The Vandenberg is a top attraction for divers from all over the world. In fact, she's the second largest artificial reef in the world. The Vandy is a blast to explore. There's so much to see. Whether you're exploring the anchor winches on the bow or swimming up through one of the satellite dishes, it's a new experience every time. Most charter boat operators will have maps and diagrams of the wreck on board, and the pre-dive briefing will give you the basic layout so you know where you're going. Capable of speeds upwards of 17 knots, this massive ship carried 200 men. Her 636 compartments ensured she had all the comforts of home. Her facilities included a theater, a laundry, lounges, storerooms, staterooms, a hospital, offices, recreation areas, and more. Here, we're swimming through one of the maintenance areas where you can see down 2 more levels. We'll have to check that out on another dive. There's no end to the places to explore here. Purchased by the U.S. Navy on March 29, 1944, she spent a number of years transporting men, supplies, and equipment around the world during World War II and beyond. Her duties included, among other things, tracking and analyzing the re-entry of ballistic missiles in the terminal phase of their test flights. In 1961, she became the property of the United States Air Force for a short time. Then in July of 1964, she was returned to the Navy and became the USNS General Hoyt S. Vandenberg. In the spring of 2008, the Vandenberg was to be sunk as an artificial reef, but instead, she was placed under a federal lien to be auctioned off for payment recovery. Then, a group of banks and financiers from Key West bought the vessel at auction, and she was docked at Key West Harbor awaiting preparations and cleanup. And while she's a relatively safe dive, great care must be taken when exploring this amazing wreck. No matter what your skill level, the USS Vandenberg is a fascinating and super fun dive. Unfortunately, because of the depth, your bottom time is relatively short, usually around 17 minutes or so. We make our safety stop and continue our ascent. While we reluctantly head back to the boat, we're looking forward to getting back here again soon.